Welcome to another Sunday update video. In this video, we're going to talk about three very different motorcycle-powered vehicles. We're going to talk about the Honda S600, which basically has a motorcycle engine in it, the Fiat, which I'm putting a motorcycle engine in, and my Ducati. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, this is my 1965 Honda S600. This is the first car that Honda made. Before this, they made motorcycles, so the engine in this is basically a motorcycle engine. It's a 600cc four-cylinder engine. It has a roller bearing crank. It's just an amazing engine. It revs to 9,000 RPM. Such an awesome car. I really love this car. But today it's in the shop because I'm going to be taking it to a local Cars and Coffee this weekend, which I've never actually done before. I've never had a chance to take it to a Cars and Coffee because when I finished this car, it was right in the middle of the COVID lockdown, and so there really wasn't anywhere for me to take it. So in preparation for the Cars and Coffee, I've got a few things I'm going to do. I'm going to fix an issue with the carburetor, and I'm going to clean up the car. Okay, so as you can see, this is basically a motorcycle engine. And we've got these four individual carburetors, and one of them has been leaking fuel. I believe that the float valve is stuck open on one of them. So I'm going to be pulling the carburetors off, separating them, and fixing that issue. The other issue is there's this plate right here. There's a screw on this plate, and it keeps vibrating loose. And when it comes loose, it affects the idle. It'll make the car either idle really high or really low. And I keep trying to adjust that screw, but there's just not enough room to get in there with a screwdriver to tighten it. So while I have this apart, I'll be putting some Loctite on those screws and getting them nice and snug. So that should fix that issue. The other issue I'm having with this car is you can see there's some exposed metal. This car is basically all original paint. I have no intention of repainting it. I just let it show its age. But as you can see, I am getting some surface rust in these exposed metal areas. Now I'm going to have to address this surface rust. And the way that I do that is I will use my buffer and I will just buff out these areas, and that'll take the rust off, and that'll give me nice clean metal. And then I will put a little bit of wax over it. So anyway, that's the Honda S600. Now we will talk about the Fiat. So if you guys saw my last build video on this, you would have seen that I built this custom subframe for the car. So I narrowed the early Mazda Miata subframe, and then I built my own supports to attach it to the car. But the next step is going to be placing the engine, figuring out exactly where it's going to sit, and then making room for it. And to do that, I'm going to have to remove some of these supports. But before I remove those, I need to weld in new supports. So there's still quite a bit to do as far as figuring out the design of this subframe. But we are making really good progress. And then once the engine location is established, then there's going to be some kind of chain drive system, most likely, back in this area. So that all has to be figured out. And then, of course, the axles have to be shortened. So all that has to be figured out. So there's still a lot to do on this car, but we're making really good progress. And I'm very pleased with how it's coming out. Okay, so now on to the Ducati. So for those of you who don't know, this is my Ducati Scrambler. This is the 62 version, which is the smaller 400cc version. I've got this in the garage today so I can clean it up and get ready to sell it. I'm going to be replacing this with something new. I've had this bike for about a year, and I really enjoyed riding it. It's a very nice bike, but it's time for it to move on. I'll be sure to do a video on the new bike when I can, but as a hint, the new bike is not gas-powered. Okay, so that's what's going on with the Ducati and the Fiat. There should be a new video out on the Fiat soon. And I'm really looking forward to taking the Honda to its first Cars and Coffee. I'll be sure to post a video on that experience so you guys can all see what the public reaction is to this car. Thanks for watching, guys, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Thanks, bye.